Okay, so we are doing a advisory matter for the special use permit.
And this is a public hearing, I believe, so.
Okay, so we'll open the public hearing. If anybody here wants to make a comment. 5-minute comment? Smith, okay.
I believe it might be appropriate to read and have a comment into the public record. I'll do it if you like, it's fine.
I'll do it. Okay, we'll finish this up real quick. We offer the below comments for tonight's public hearing. This operation has negatively affected and detracted from the livability of our residential use of our home in the historic mixed-use area. The facility is located such that when all of the trees lose their leaves and due to our location downstream from them, we are subjected to their loud activities and lighting. We have had to endure many parties projected right into our living room. We respectfully request that you document that this particular use does detract from the livability of the residential uses. Thank you.
Who made that statement?
And that was Carrie Ann McHugh and Jeff McLaughlin.
Okay, and as I understand it, we have to use the page that's at the back of this section of the packet.
The advisory note?
Yeah, to the
Yes.
advisory note.
Yes. So if anybody needs to review anything in here, we've all read this and I'm well familiar.
It's my understanding that in my read of this, that there is, yeah, a couple of things. That there is no change to the exterior of this building at all, right? Is that correct?
Yes. And Susan, the public portion of the meeting is closed now, so we're back to regular. Hey there.
That be the case, would there be any change to the recommendation we made to the board of selectmen?
No, not for me. So we do have one that I saw, and I didn't put the papers, I know it was in here the last time, the recommendation again.
You might,
So basically, we approved it, we said that the,
because I don't think I was here then.
okay, so effect on the general historic and architectural is none. That there are hotels and restaurants in the area, and outdoor entertainment units are.
This is a mixed use.
Mhm. Do we want to go through and answer these or just? Yeah, I think,
We can just reaffirm the,
yeah, if I can find the last one.
Are you looking at the minutes for December 14th?
Well, we're looking at the last recommendation that we made.
Which is
That
the
where it is?
advisory on the Quick Creek Inn for their special.
I have to release myself, you know.
It is on the minutes, it's in there, yeah.
Okay.
Susan,
I have to release myself from this because this is a
Okay.
conflict of interest. Sorry.
and can, we did this once.
Yeah, I saw it on the email. Here it is, got it. Sorry.
Are we doing it again?
Well, there's. It's been brought up that this be a permanent permit instead of on a case by case, I believe is the issue, so.
The prior advisory matter, sorry,
Go ahead.
the prior advisory matter was regarding adding an ordinance. We have now added that special use category. And so now, Clear Creek Inn is applying for the use.
Okay, I got it. Got it. So I'll read our comments and if you agree, then we'll resubmit. We'll basically use the one from last time. So the effect of the proposed change upon the general historic and or architectural character of the structure or area. Our response was historically, this area had numerous hotels. The request for hotel status appears reasonable and this change is a neutral impact. On number 2, there's no impact on architectural style, etc. Number 3, the effects of the proposed work in creating, changing, destroying, and there's no work, so it's no impact. Effects, no impact again on number 4. Number 5, the use to which the structure or area will be put. And our comment is the use of the structure is consistent with the area. The new use will not be accompanied by any visual change.
You know, I might on number 5, because, in consideration of impacts on historic resources, the indirect impacts are, that are standard are noise and visual.
Mhm.
On number 5, I might indicate that there has been public comment, from neighbors in concern with the noise.
And I will say, since the applicant is not here, that I did see in his, report or in pages that limiting the number of people and all of this to the events, but that there's definitely a time and noise, limit. You recall exactly where that was?
Yeah, in his special, actually, Todd, are you here on behalf of the board?
Here for support, I can answer what it's been
Okay.
a while since I've looked at all, I'm not familiar with all the latest grades, but. Yeah.
So I know that I just saw it because I read through this, but, oh,
We
okay.
have a set of imposed conditions.
Yes, so the proposed conditions, do we get those?
Yes, but
And
it's
it's
not
basically-
that we need to reflect that that
Okay.
someone has indicated a concern. with the
So-
noise.
so
We're not
this-
saying that is.
Well, I think this is kind of in response to it, so just so that we acknowledge that sound level meter will be maintained on site at all times. Sound check to limit approximate music distance to no more than 200 feet. During operation, amplified sound equipment will be monitored to limit volume below 70 decibels at 20 feet from the source. House indoor and outdoor speakers are controlled by a multi-room amplifier as approved for daily use as needed. In the hours of operation for outdoor lawn games, wedding efficient speeches, live music and amplified sound will be allowed only during the hours of 9 AM to 9 PM. So that it's.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's not a PRC thing anyway.
Yes,
The only
well, that's what
I bring up is that it is a typical. It is a typical thing for a consideration of historic impacts. And as a matter of fact, I mean, noise gets into a huge discussion on historic impacts. On impacts to historic,
This is a commercial, you know, it has commercial rights.
right,
Yeah.
That,
right. I'm not saying that
Temper
it
the-
change what.
the impact on
I'm just saying
the
that-
residential, who are purely residential,
Yeah.
it would have a different impact.
Okay, so if somebody want to like frame a comment. Or let's see, so what we have on number 5 is the use of the structure is consistent with the area. The new use will not be accompanied by any visual change. It has been noted that sound,
In where you get into the use to which this number 5,
yeah,
only on number 5, you know, the concerns have been expressed. Concerning
private citizens.
yeah, by private citizens concerning the noise. What we're stating is that they have been expressed to us and we've received it and it's there. It doesn't mean that we're going to change our advice.
Right. Or zoning.
Well, no, we're just being asked for advice, and the 3 categories of advice is that we basically say yes, no, or no opinion.
Okay,
And on this one, I would say we say no opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's not,
That's not our day.
okay, and safety's not an issue on number 6.
No,
Okay, so this does not have the actual final, that we usually make an overall recommendation. I'll fill this one out. for you.
Only
It's-
Joan does.
So it's actually at the bottom of this, I just don't have it on this old one that we were reading from. So I'll put these comments onto the new one. And then as far as our overall recommendations. I've got it. Okay. Overall recommendation is we find no change in our earlier recommendation.
I think that's, you know, I think that's appropriate.
that's I'm saying it's not a game.
Whose game was it?
The, what's in?
Okay, so do I have a motion on
Why do we have fire protection shop drawings in our packet?
that? I don't know, we had all kinds of stuff because it's new.
Are we supposed to look at fire protection?
No.
I'm just wondering why we have fire protection drawings.
I think those were some new additions.
Half the stuff that was in there.
Okay, I'm just wondering why we had that.
Problem with it.
Okay, all
I
right,
included this in my application.
Okay,
all right.
because it seemed irrelevant to this.
Yeah, but it's not an area.
Okay, do you hear a motion then?
I would move that we send the recommendation on the advisory matter as stated to the Board of Selectmen.
To the planning
Planning
commission.
Commission, to the planning commission.
Okay.
I'll second, and it's
All in favor?
their decision.
Aye. Against?
I abstain.
Mhm.
I have to abstain as well.
Okay. All right. And now.
Thank you, my apologies for coming early.
That's okay.
We started early.
So Sarah, is it Capel?
Apple.
I knew I had to.
I know, my name is Doll, and then I got married and it didn't help. Okay. Awesome. So yes, my name is Sarah Capel. I'm the tax credit and incentive specialist for Fisher, Colorado. So for our state historic preservation office. Every state has a SHPO for short. And we all have mandatory federal tax credits, but here in Colorado, we have a couple of special extra programs. That I'm gonna talk about today, which are the state historic tax credits for both commercial and residential, and then our state historical fund grants. All right, awesome. So the first slide is the state historical fund. Georgetown has received, and so we're, has received several SHF grants in the time of SHF, which has been around since 1993 was when our first grant was provided, grant round. We are funded through the gaming towns, so Cripple Creek, Central City, and Blackhawk. We are allotted about 10 million every year, and we split those up into 2 grant rounds, and then also our non-competitive. So we have not competitive and competitive grant rounds. Not competitive are for the easy, like planning, times, or when people don't really know where to start. We can also do historic structure assessments. We can also do nominations, but since you're a historic district, all that, you don't have to worry about that. And then our competitive grants are $1 to 250,000 requests, and depending on the property ownership, there is a cash match requirement. Which if you talk to staff, it's an easy, we can help you figure that out. And then our grants also focus on a strong public benefit and urgency. So they're really catered towards government entities who provide, that public facing sector. And then our nonprofits are also very popular. We do give grants to private owners, but they do need a nonprofit or public entity to apply on their behalf, and they also have to have that strong public benefit. So it makes it a little bit harder for private owners, but it's not impossible. The next slide. Oops. Well, the next slide is going to be the historic tax credits for the state level, and for commercial, we'll recognize the buildings. So we do currently have the state historic tax credit for commercial properties. They must be designated at the end of by the end of the project. You're in a district. So what we're gonna want to make sure is that they're considered contributing structures to the district in order to be eligible for this state tax credits. They are geared a lot towards private owners since they do have state income tax, but nonprofits can also apply since our tax credit program is a transferable program, which is awesome. So nonprofits don't have the tax liability. So they can essentially, what they'll do is they'll finish the project, they'll get their credits, and a certificate number, and then they can sell them. So for nonprofits, I oftentimes tell them, talk to your board members, talk to your donors. People are always like, I want to, $20,000 towards your project. And that way you can kind of be like, hey, well, we have these tax credits. And because as a nonprofit, they can't do anything with them.
And then long-term leases, so they don't necessarily have to own the building, it can be a 5-year lease, it's considered a long-term lease. Which is fabulous in rural Colorado, and so if, like, say, what I've been trying to do since a lot of governments buy buildings that are like vacant, or they're just like sitting there and they mean a lot to the community, and they're like, well, we can't let this building, fall down, they're gonna buy it, and then they're like, well, now what do we do with it? So you might have a local nonprofit or a local business that's trying to start up and they just, don't have the ability to buy their own building. They can sign a 5-year lease, with the government or, a private owner, whatever it might be, and then the nonprofit or that VC can apply for the tax credits and get them that way. It is a minimum of 20,000 for a scope of work, so that is like a drop in the hat anymore, which is kind of a sad thing, but it's also kind of an easy thing to achieve. We are in Georgetown, so it is considered rural Colorado, so it's a 30 to 35% back on your qualified expenses. I like easy math. I don't do the math for our program, so say your project totals 120,000 and 100,000 of that's your qualified expenses. And I have a slide here in a moment for that. You'll get 35,000 back in tax credits. And then that can be, dollar for dollar towards your state income tax, or you can sell all or a portion of them for like a lower price. It is a cap of $1 million per project per year. So projects can come in for multiple applications, so they can do a phase 1 and cap it like it'll be $1 million or 100,000, finish that phase and like, all right, we're ready to start phase 2, and then they can submit another application. So they're not just limited to one. And then, like I said, they can keep or sell the credits. So we do have a residential. Which has been doing awesome. I've had 2 properties in like the last 2 weeks come in for the residential tax credits. Which is fabulous, I love it. So it is designated properties again, so ones who are contributing to the district. And also since you're a certified local government, you can locally landmark, so if they're not considered contributing, we can do that. They are for private owners only, so it's your personal residence, whether that's your first home, second home, third, whatever it might be, is eligible. And then it's a flat 35%, and it's a cap of 50,000. And you just have to spend a minimum of 5,000 as a qualified expense. So they are, you have to keep them, you have 10 years to use them. And that's the same with the commercial, you have 10 years if you don't sell them. So you would have 10 years to use the credit, so if you have like a $2,000 state income tax for, like you did this project this year for 2024, you can, I'm gonna use 2,000 of my 50,000 I get back.
Would you state a maximum and minimum again for the residential?
Oh, for the residential, you have to spend a minimum of 5,000, and then you get a max of 50,000, so, 35,000 makes it, challenging. So say you have a $400,000 project, you still get the max, you'll just cap it at 50.
Yeah.
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 And so we just had new legislation passed, and so some of these will be going into effect here in January 2025, some will be 2026, 27. Why they couldn't have just picked 1 year is beyond me, but anyway. So the age requirement right now is 50 years to be eligible, but we're gonna align that with the state register, which is a 30-year age.
Is that for both commercial and?
Yes, yep, for the state programs, yep. And for the state historical fund grant, they just have to be designated at the local, state or national level, so.
I guess the wrong.
And so, cause right now for our state tax credits, it has to be 50, there's no, whether it's on the state register for 30 years, it would still have to be 50 years old. We are currently have a 24-month look back, so if you started a project in January of 23 and you did all that work and you're still doing work, we'll have that look back for 24 months, but we're gonna switch to 12 months here in 2026. If the project is completed, there's people who like say you finished your project last week and then they're like, okay, now I'm gonna come for the tax credits. There is a 120-day period that they have to get their first part of their application in if they haven't already. We are removing that, so I'm kind of excited for that one, actually. And then,
Does that mean that there will be, how long is the potential look back period then?
it'll go to 12 months, and so so it doesn't go into effect till 2026, so any work you start in 25 and say, for the look back, right? And so you can claim all the work you did in 25 if you don't get your application in until January of 26.
Okay,
But you wanna be able to claim work in 24.
but you did the actual work in 24.
Yeah, you did. So if you submit, like you did work in 23 and you submitted your application today and you're still doing work, we can accept it. But if you don't get your application until 26 and you did work in 23 or 2024.
Is this both for residential and commercial?
Yep, yes. I have at least some consistency.
So we are, our house was built in 18,
Now, you're a contributing structure, you're,
but I'm putting a new roof on.
Yeah,
And there, all the original layers of roofing are still on there, including the original layer of roofing. And so they're going to be putting on that new roof next week.
are you the person who's
I'm the
emailing me?
person.
You are
Am I the person one?
emailing me? There's someone else getting a new room. Yeah, so I mean, as your example, like we have the roof scheduled. What you've proposed as what you're just replacing in kind, and again, I have a couple of slides to talk about it. But a replacement in kind, remove all those, old roofs and everything, and basically start fresh and make sure this upgrade is good to go and the new roofing material is appropriate and meets the design guidelines of Georgetown's storage district there.
So, it's about a $30,000 project.
Yep, so you definitely meet that $5,000 threshold, right? And so you get 35,000 back, or 35% back on that 30,000 if that's all qualified expenses.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, no problem. And then part of this new statute is also a housing component, so we got another additional 5 million that's gonna come to us into our pool in January. So we now, for the commercial, will have did I say 5 million? 5 million in the small pool, which is projects expecting 2 million or less in qualified rehabilitation expenses. Large pool, which is $2,001 and up till that $1 million cap, and then we'll have another 5 million for projects that are square footage figure out the square footage, and at least half of it is residential and housing. If you have that here in Georgetown and they're gonna meet, any kind of low income housing or affordable housing standards, then it could be a 40% instead of just a 35%. So we've added that extra little bump. For residential, so you're private, starting in project applications that we receive in 26 for work that is issued or done in 25. The credit goes from 50 to 100,000. And then they also become refundable starting in 27. So instead of having to use them dollar for dollar towards your state income tax, you use what you can, and then basically the government writes you a check. And because we found that a lot of individuals who are on Social Security or just like me personally, I don't have a high state income tax liability. They're not coming in for the program because they don't see the benefit of it. And so this way they can also benefit from the program and also do the work credit. So. Yes.
When you say come in for, it used to be that the certified government could be the qualifying agency for residential tax credits. Is that still the case, or do they all go through this state?
Georgetown does not review their residential tax credits, right?
We
As
have,
they did,
we have in the past, yes, we have granted residential tax.
do you
credits.
review the applications as well?
Yes,
Oh, is that still a thing?
well,
As far as we do.
as far as we know.
Well, we might probably should figure that out, cause I thought I reviewed them for Georgetown, but if not, then we'll just switch them over and you'll get the 2 applications that I have to work with, cause you guys review them anyway for exterior.
We would
changes.
end up reviewing the exterior, but we also reviewed the We've done a couple of them,
Yeah.
and yes, we do the two-phase.
Did you do the exterior and interior?
Yes,
You're
we did
reviewing?
exterior and interior,
Yeah.
because that's because the interior could be included for everything
Yeah.
that's nailed down.
Yeah.
basically.
Alright, well, then we'll need to check that because I didn't think that Georgetown still had that in their ordinance, but we'll look. I'll look with Lindsay. We'll get that figured out.
Yeah, and no, I don't know that we have it specifically in an ordinance, we have it in our understanding of what it means to be a certified local government.
Yeah, and some, I mean, all of them cater to your specific local municipality, what your needs are and what works with your community, so. Some are strictly like, we just review the exterior. I like to tell people, you know, well, they're already reviewing the exterior, like. Build like, you know, a good relationship and show them what you're doing in the interior, even if you don't need their approval. But every ordinance is different too, so there could also be a more, part of it that says like, you have to receive approval for both exterior and interior. But what I'm wondering is if you review the application, then you guys are the ones who put them into the system.
Yeah, that's what we have done.
We'll
Maybe
find
if you
out.
check Jim Blumer's
Yeah.
downstairs, I mean, you will see the whole set of.
Yeah.
Because his is what we use as an example to people who come in as to what the process has to look like.
Well, we'll put
It's
a
done.
pin on that one, and I'm going to find out
All right.
before when I go home and
I'm
I'm
not
gonna look
saying
it up.
we necessarily need to continue doing that, but
Yeah.
sometimes it.
Which is
assists
better
people
now.
on
Well-
the residential level to be able to come in, you know,
Mhm.
just convenience wise.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Lindsay Llewellyn, who is the certified local government coordinator, she and I will figure it out, and then, we'll connect with Keisha and figure out what, if what is in place is still the best. That is what you guys want, so. I'll figure it out, don't worry. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the next two slides are basically the work has to meet the Secretary of Interior standards, so the roof, for instance, is. Replacing kind, if you know, you have wooden windows and they just need like a simple, you know, like. There's a chunk missing, you need like a Dutchman repair, so there's different levels of rehabilitation. And what we would consider, you know, repair or replacing kind. It can, you know, keep the same historic characters, while, you know, being used for a different, new use, so. The popular example is schools, they've been decommissioned and now they're gonna be used for apartments. That's a great example of a rehabilitation and a completely different, use compared to the historic. We just wanna make sure like during that, and it goes the same with the homes, like private homes too, so commercial and homes. That you're keeping what is character defining of that structure, and so, normally what I tell people, if it's something that you're like, oh, that's so cool, that's probably something that should be kept.
But, for instance, let's take the roof, it is not being replaced in kind. We have some very old roofs around here that are still cedar shingle.
Yeah,
And there is
And-
no way we can let people continue to put, with our fire codes, we cannot continue to
Yeah.
put cedar shingles on our roofs.
and a lot of insurance companies don't allow it either,
Yeah,
and
that's,
so,
that's right, so
There's
does the
a
roof qualify if it is not putting it on in kind, but it is putting it on in keeping with what
the
we.
character that,
we
yeah.
have established as guidelines?
Yes, and so they always wanna go for the local, and I don't normally, I try not to have, like, go against what local governments, like, review or say. There's only been a couple, and it definitely, obviously, it's not in Georgetown. But yeah, so like an appropriate treatment and a good, alternative material, so, with shingle, like they do have, you know, different rubber. Shingle alternatives that are supposed to look like wood, the, NPS has approved. Architectural style shingles, so there's alternatives, so you don't have to do wood shingles, even though if you want, and your insurance allows it, I'll approve it. Thanks. So pretty much what qualifies, I like to just take your building, turn it upside down, give it a shake, what falls out normally doesn't count, and what stays in normally does. So the things that kind of don't are, appliances, furniture, rugs.
If you decide that you wanna paint your house yellow one day and not do any of the other, like, you don't have to like replace any siding. And then the next day you're like, oh, I don't want it yellow, I want it blue, that would not be a qualified expense. So you actually have to be like, yeah, like, I need to work on my wood siding. And that means, you know, you're gonna have like white patches everywhere, so then painting would be allowed. And so it's a lot of things, for the tax credits, exterior, interior, you're updating your mechanical, electrical, plumbing, some of those bigger items. For the, grants, however, we wanna make sure it's a competitive scope of work, so an application for a grant might look different than your tax credits. So again, it's great to talk to staff. I work really closely with, the state historical fund, resource specialist for this area and making sure that our timelines are all lining up and that we're not overlooking anyone. So yeah, talk to staff early and then since you review for design, you know, guideline purposes, is I always tell people, have you gone to your local landmarking first? Have you gone to your local historic preservation? Like, who's that? I'm like, let me tell you who your contact is. And so, we try from our, office as well. And then I just always just keep this site in on, you know, speaking to your community, you know, making sure that if you do have any vacant buildings, that there are these programs available and you're sharing that with property owners and that it doesn't have to be, you know, a complete building, rehab, that it can be, you know, they have some foundation issues or their storefront has been, you know, modified and they're like, yeah, we really just wanna, you know, fix it up, spruce it up, whatever. It's really, you know, a great program for those items. And then it's just a minimum of 20,000. So like I said, there's a lot of, you know, it's a pretty small amount in the grand scheme of things for commercial and 5,000 for residential, you know, anymore it could be like a set of windows. And it's meant to fill the gap, so, windows is a great example, and I highly doubt the local, you guys will approve it, but the common example is someone wants to come in and put in vinyl windows in place of their wood windows. That's a no, because that doesn't meet the standards and that wouldn't meet guidelines. And so the vinyl window looks great, you know, it's gonna be $1,000, while the wood window will be like 3,500, and you're just like, but you can get tax credits to help with that, that financial gap, so. Yeah, so, we're not the police, we're here to help. And we're here to, you know, work with the local government. So if there's ever a need for us to come, you are always happy to come. Yeah, it's meant to be an easy process, for the tax credits. You can just, I'm pretty, you know, easy to get a hold of by email or phone. I'll eventually get back to you if it's been a moment, but also there's the state historical fund staff for grants, so, we do have 2 separate staff to do those programs. And yeah, we're hands-on. Anna McLeave, I know some of you guys have worked with her. So she's fabulous and she is also really easy to get a hold of. And your new engagement staff for the state historical fund starts Monday, so I will no longer be that person. Yeah, and then there's my contact, info. So I know we asked questions throughout, and I know that was like really quick and probably a lot, but, and I know you guys have a lot of other things to attend to, so I'm happy to answer any questions. If you have like specific projects that you have, then you wanna reach out to me.
What is your phone number? I can't read that.
Oh, 303 549 6190. I take phone calls, text messages.
So do I have to get this all set up before they actually change the roof? No.
Nope, that completed project doesn't go into effect until the day 2026.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we're good. And then in that time, we're gonna find out you guys actually are the ones who's supposed to be taking applications and submitting them. And so we'll have a training.
What we have always said to folks is that they could go either way. They could come to us, or they could come to the state. And that commercial, they have to go to the state.
Yes.
We don't do we never did any of that.
No, we have a
But
commercial.
people who inquired, one of the chief difficulties that we've run into, and actually, one of them, I we didn't talk about, is that people, did not understand the level of documentation that they had to have of what they were doing. And I think that that's, if you're even thinking about tax credits, yeah, take pictures of everything. Take before pictures and after pictures.
And during.
Because that, somebody had finished all of their work. They came to us and said, now we'd like to go. And so my first question is, what is your scope of work? And what documentation do you have of that scope of work? And if there is no scope of work that you can line out in writing, and there's no documentation, the fact that you have bills does not quite make it. So if you're even considering it, memorialize what you're doing.
And would that be like the proposal that the contractors made? Like, I have.
Yeah, you
Well,
have
hey,
the scope of work, you just have somebody to do this, and this. And you've taken your pictures before, this is what it looked like before. This is the work either in progress or getting done, and just so it makes it far easier to fill out the applications to do this. That's true also on the commercial end of it, there were commercial credits on nice and on K&A. And yeah,
For
there was
exterior.
a lined out scope of work. And there was, pictures that went with every single piece of that scope of work and the date when it happened.
And for the Fed, like, there is the federal, and I didn't include that, I apologize, you guys are in a national registered district, so there are also the federal historic tax credit, which is an additional 20% on top, so essentially it could be 50 to 55%. But the feds are a very, like, they do need all that documentation, and they are a lot more picky. I, on the other hand, have tried to make the program a lot more open and accessible, because it was getting very like, you have to have this, and you basically had to hire an architect or whatever, someone to be able to do it, and it was just becoming a lot, so. I basically say, send me what you're gonna have, like, a bid, your application, photos, we'll work with it.
Yes,
So, but we'll figure it out, I don't have the most current, but it does look like as of 2021 that Georgetown was reviewing. Their residential application, so, I'll get with Lindsay and we'll probably reach out to figure out what you guys wanna do.
So I'm not gonna climb up on the roof with those guys and take pictures, but
Didn't have
I'm
them.
gonna have them take pictures.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be tough,
And
it's
you can
just
just-
recording that these
Yeah.
things have happened.
Just once on the ground would be great too, if you can.
And it just makes it much easier.
Okay.
And yes, if anybody's after federal tax credits,
It's me still.
Yeah.
But locally, yeah, you review the
It's-
exterior.
yeah, but it's a whole level.
Yeah, it used to be, my predecessor is still at our office, Joe Saldivar, and he was doing 106 and tax credits, which is 2 positions.
And it's-
Full-time positions, and so he's now only doing 106, so that way I can help more. Be a lot more hands-on, so you turn in your, like, you want it, like, we're trying to encourage people to do their own applications, that you don't have to pay a consultant to do it and everything. And so if you send me your federal application, I'm like, all right, we need to make these adjustments, we'll work through it, together, so.
So there's a specific format that we're submitting to you.
Yes, there's an application form, is there not?
Yeah, I sent you
Yeah.
the application,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be really simple,
Okay.
yep, we'll work with it. Yeah, and then, yeah, so like I said, I will get with Lindsay, and John, if you guys wanna continue reviewing your residential tax credit applications. You guys have questions? Or- All right, if you have projects, just let me know, we'll get it sorted out.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Do a little math for me, what?
I told her not.
What year, if my house is built in what year, am I?
Oh, 30 years, so 90,
Maybe.
yeah, yeah. I know, that was my, 94, actually, or 2024, so I didn't do it.
No, except that they have to be true.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, very, I'm gonna learn a lot.
So it's how to be.
Contribute to the national register, or since they're a certified local government, if you have, say you do have a place that was built in 1978. But it's okay, it's not contributing to the district. But if it is historic of Significant Valley, Gateway Acacia, and then, you could potentially do local landmarking for it, which will make it eligible. I don't know if it's required residents or what, but if it's required residents, then make it eligible for the state tax credits. Yeah. All right.
Few pages.
Yeah, but we haven't really done a local landmark.
Anything else for me? Or-
We haven't done that.
Somewhere in the.
We haven't done local landmarks.
So don't you think that we should notify them? Is that maybe?
Sure.
And it is. So.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, because, yeah, I don't.
I wonder if she has. The exterior, but I don't know if she really is.
How to say that?
Yeah, she was tied up in a lot of 6 here.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, moving on. Jay Cooper, you're doing a roof. We got a little extra lesson today. Go ahead, state your name and the
Jay
address of the
Cooper.
project.
928 Rose.
928 Rose.
Okay, and we're putting on a roof,
Yes, ma'am.
okay?
Gee, there's a lot of that going on. right?
Yeah.
And you're putting 50-year fires and that's all changed.
So partial is gonna be mod bid, cause the, slope is say 1.8, it's under a 2. And that's 264 square foot. And the rest is, architectural.
So a different thing has to go on this than this.
No, just, so. On this side of the roof over here, there's a very small portion. That is 264 square foot, that is a different slope on the slurs, that has to be mod bid by code.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Whatever it is. In our pre-approved list,
Bitumen is pre-approved for up to 150 square feet, and since this is larger than that, he's changing the materials that are up to.
yeah, gotcha. Gotcha. Because the basic roof that he's putting on would fit in the pre-approved. So it is really the fact
Just the
that
fact
the
that
small
So it's
section.
just an extra 100 square foot.
Okay, so do we need to just note that that's of course.
The color has changed too, we're going to black
Yeah,
from gray.
that color's not up, so.
Well, the fact that if it were smaller, it would be approved.
Yeah.
So unless we have some reason why we wouldn't approve an extra 100 square feet.
Yeah, yeah,
then
Well,
We would
I
just
think that's-
extend the pre-approved to that.
I think that's so if somebody doesn't do their whole roof and say, well, I could, so
That's right.
since you have to do that part of it, I think it's fine. Do we need any kind of siding or just state that,
I think we just state,
okay,
Yes, I understand the problem. But it's changing the whole roof, so we do have to have some siding in there that yes, the roof is approved with do you have a siding, Sean?
We do. Book 2, chapter 8, section 6. You're so good.
It's 8 feet, so I'm talking to.
fully obligated, let's.
Yeah. Well, I did review them too.
Because he's doing the whole roof, so we do have a siding for the rest of the roof too, but it should be, the issue.
so, letter C, okay,
Roof materials on new buildings should appear similar to those used traditionally.
Not in their building.
Yeah, it's not me. it's replacing.
I'd go B with replacement of it,
Okay,
but it's not his construction.
There's one that says something about 30-year things and that should say 50.
Yeah.
It's that C1.
C1.
50-year or greater composition, yep, the combined shingles, and colors, everything.
Is black muted?
Yeah, very.
I don't know what muted color is. What's a muted
Black is
color?
all colors. It is.
We just don't like white.
Yes.
That's not,
Yeah.
White is.
Or yellow, I don't know.
that would be.
Okay, got anything else, Jen? Okay, that was, do I hear a motion? Hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve it, but that's the side it's presented.
And the addition that the larger area of mod bit, is that it?
Smaller area.
Okay, it's 100 square feet.
It's the smaller area is mod bit, the larger area is architectural.
Yeah, so, but okay,
This is mod bit.
The mod bid is greater than the 150.
I was,
It's like 260.
yeah, it's bigger than the allowable size,
Sorry.
but it's okay, yeah, so, okay.
But it's still a very small portion.
So a larger area of mod bit coverage is allowed due to the slope of that area. Right, okay. Okay, and then the other side, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
I
Again,
got a quick question.
Yep.
Since it looks like everybody's here and I'm an alternate, I don't vote, is that correct?
oh, okay.
Oh, it's okay, I just want to make sure I'm getting it right.
No attention to that guy.
He's slow, doesn't count.
That's right. No, we're just talking. That seems kind of neat. Okay, then you're approved.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ryan.
Look at me, I'm irrelevant.
No, you're not irrelevant. First house and then.
Sorry, isn't
No, it's, yeah, that was a little track text minutes.
I'm Brian Snickers, I'm here for 915 Main Street tonight.
Says 21.
921, yes.
Sure,
It is 921 and I'm here for tonight.
okay. And you changing a little roof thingy?
Yes, I'd like to take the roof plane above the garage off and add a faux widow's walk. That would make it look more like a Georgetown house.
But,
It wouldn't be anything other than, like what the Bowman White House has on it above their front
so
porch.
is there actually a little floor out there?
There will be, so the way that house is designed, it already has a floor structure under it, and then we're gonna cover it with a roof plane. Yeah, we might.
Yeah,
Okay.
widows walks are usually on roofs.
Yeah.
So they're on the second floor of lots of houses in Georgetown. They're all over.
Yeah, widows walk, it's a traditional widows walk is on a captain's house.
Near
So
the
the
ocean.
I know, but the Victorian style of Georgetown, they changed it to the second floor. I mean, there are.
So the question is, can you see the ocean from there?
You cannot. There's a mountain.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a little thing.
To make it official, you have to have a widow like walk on it.
Well, that's to find out if you were a widow or not. Wait a
I can find one if we need one.
Okay, so.
What's the material gonna be on the flat area?
It's just gonna be green board slanted to a drain out the south side into the gutter and
Probably mod bid.
modded or some sort of super rubberized material, so we never have to worry about it. I mean, or never worry about rotting it, but people on the streets never gonna see it.
So before, the railing was not there and the roof just went on up to under the window there?
Yes.
Yeah, it just went up to under the window and straight down.
And it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I
So
think
what
it's
is
a
the
nice touch.
railing?
The railing, right, in the drawing that I submitted, it's just thin baluster Right now, I currently would like to have something a little bit better than, kind of a 2x2 or something balustrade on there, I forget, but they're.
Turn.
It's just a turn or, like I was sitting here looking at the wrought iron and what's on the pairs. I kind of like to have some, maybe a wrought iron along the top of that. I'm not a huge piece, but
So either painted wood or wrought iron?
yeah,
So you're not gonna change the window to a door?
no. That's why
That's
it's,
the faux,
that's the faux part.
okay, all right. Well, I think the stylish element there is good.
Oh, good.
Do we have any kind of siding we need for that, or just approval in general?
I think Rollins, but we've already agreed Rollins somewhere in this one.
Okay, are you gonna have iron railings anywhere else?
No,
Okay,
There is a section.
not as planned.
there's no railing on the front, so.
No.
Okay.
Well, there's a railing on the back.
The back.
The back is just gonna be a cedar red wood or regular, something that will last forever. It's not something familiar, so it's not, I'm not gonna make the back one decorative. It's gonna be as pretty as it can be, but not. We'll see.
Okay, there is a thing of twelve architectural character, page 30.
Two,
It says building details that maintain the simple character of the area are encouraged, and ornamental trim and decoration that is in character with the manner in which ornamentation has been applied historically is encouraged. And this is a way that essentially a decorative, these folks, they call them like a porch, et cetera. The other like that.
is there anything besides page 30? Is there
There's
any?
page 30, section 4, architectural character, and that's A1.
Okay,
And A3 says use it in limited amounts on individual buildings, and this is a limited amount.
Very limited.
It's not
nice.
intending to fill every window. I'm
Just
saying.
trying to take out a little of the roof plane and not make it so roofy.
Yeah.
Well, that.
There was a lot of roof on it.
It makes it, attracts your eye up instead of the garage door. Nice. Okay, we hear a motion.
Move that we approve the change to the. I get to change the COA, the amendment to the COA.
Yes. Yes.
To the widow's walk, build the garage.
I'll second. There is no discussion, no audience comments. All in favor? Against?
Do you want me to call it a widow's walk, or you want me to call it something else?
You know what it was.
Ryan's walk.
Brian's.
So you call it Brian.
Yeah.
It's gonna be one.
But a faux Brian's walk.
All right, well, thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, you can have the news. Wonder where he's been home. I don't know where are we doing Hugh Rice tonight? Do we do Hugh Rice? What iron, what iron?
That's a sort of an informal because, you technically approved it last meeting. I just wanted to confirm with you that he had received his, ILC and that the markers were identified as far as survey goes, so that his fence is able to be approved. You approved it conditionally, so that's why.
Oh, okay, so that was met.
Yeah.
So we don't need to do anything.
Yes,
Okay. All right, so we got staff updates.
yes, it's Cindy, that was on the.
Did. So update on national registration nominees.
Or national register. You have in your books, the list of completing a non-conforming structure. That list is based on a survey that was completed in 2014. That was a collection of every other survey that had been done over all of the years prior to that. And it did the entire district, including the mine sites, but it did it in two categories. One category was those things that were constructed between 1859 and 1893. And the other category were the things that were constructed between 1894 and 1907. because actually it is not true that the mining period just disappeared one day in 1893. And, you know, for instance, that powerhouse was in 1900. The Silverplum School was in 1894, not in 1893. So there, and it was agreed upon by the State Historic Preservation Office and the National Park Service that we should do those registers, we should approach it in that way. So if you look at those survey forms, you will see if it's contributing, it's either checked as something before 1893 or checked as something that's in the later dates in order to get your contributing list. Well, in the process of going through the Excel process, the National Park Service says you have to be a little bit careful about that because your landmark district is attached to the 1859 to 1893. That's what your landmark district designation is attached to. So nothing in the second period is actually, while they acknowledge publicly that indeed it is a contributing part to your landmark district, it doesn't officially fall in their age category. Now, when the man put the age on the category, he put a circa in front of it because he knew that it didn't end in 1893. But the National Park Service across the country, or the landmark people across the country, have gotten into some rather interesting legal debates over what a circa means to a landmark designation. So they don't, you know, circa normally is a 10-year span, but they've gotten into it, which would be fine with us. I mean, if it was a 10-year span. And so what they've said is you should take all of those contributing structures that are in the second district, and what we actually need to do is create another National Register district. It wouldn't be a landmark district, but it would have the protections of it to sit on top of our landmark district and cover those structures. Does that make any sense to anyone?
Makes sense.
Well, that's a miracle because it took us close to a month to get it to make sense to the Park Service and the Chipo's office and to us.
What all is involved? Is that a?
It's an extensive application because you're asking to become a National Register district. So the application is extensive, but all of the homework's done. You know, we don't have to survey anything. It's all surveyed. We don't even have to do a context because the context has already been written.
So you just need to organize that document.
We just need to fill out the entire document. And then we need to then frame the context statement so that the context statement highlights what happened in. And we're lucky that the context statement is written because it was written for the whole I-70 corridor. And it is the big I-70 corridor context, which brings us up to 1950. So you can pick out the sections that you need. So it's more of a paperwork game. They have said that it would be best done by the people who have been acknowledged as the expertise for doing these things, which
Is that yours?
no. It's not just the environment either, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
Which is, I can understand it not being me. I'm not a historian at the level that she is. She's a real historian. What's wild about this is the people who will then do it will base it on the books she has written.
Oh, jeez. Okay, well, that makes sense.
She can't put her name on the bottom of the form. In any case, I'm letting you know all of this, and I will say it to the town because along the way, we'll probably ask for a small planning grant. I say the we, I don't care who the we is, I don't care which town it is, I don't care if it's Historic Georgetown, I don't care if it's the trust. We'll probably ask for a small grant so we can pay Carmichael Williams and Eric Twitty, who did all the original surveys, so they know the site. And they're not amused by this at all, but, yeah. But we've now gotten it narrowed down to what we actually need to do to get this accomplished. But we will have to pay them, and so I think I might.
But we're not talking a huge,
We're not talking
Expense.
a huge expense. Carl thought he might have to resurvey everything because it's been 10 years since the survey. The reason
moved.
But, the place has changed. What they would like us to do is they'd like us to resurvey the entire landmark district every 10 years. That's crazy. There's 600 sites on that survey. I mean, it's
just tell them to send a check.
around here.
send us a check, yeah.
Well, you know, and every so many years, we should have somebody who reviews them, which would still cost money, but you go out to the site and say, has anything changed? Has anything changed? But this one, they said, because we're within the 10-year thing, we're just within it. But if we get this started before the end of this year, they will count that we don't have to resurvey.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like it's something we need to
And
get
so,
on the board of selectmen agenda and say. We do it.
yes, but it's still, I mean, he's got a National Register District application is involved. I mean, they will put hours into, so I mean, Eric figures that he's at a week, he's at a 40-hour, but, and Carl, I would think would come in at that, and and Chris and I are pretty. We're just, but anyway, that is what's happening, and given that, we're the commission that deals with these things, and your list here does not distinguish, though you can find them, because we have the bill dates. Yeah, so you could find them pretty quickly on your list. I mean, your list just says you're a C or a not C. The National Register District will be much smaller than the Landmark District. You might ask the question, why don't we go back to the National Park Service and change the date on the Landmark District? Because we can't touch that.
Right.
Because they will wish to reconsider
Yeah, right.
the entire Landmark District.
Yeah, don't talk about that.
We have the biggest boundaries of any landmark district in the country.
Yeah.
And we want
We got
to,
that done.
Yeah.
so we are not,
Do we need a motion or?
no, I just wanted
Recommendations
you
or-
to all
Yeah.
to
Go to the
know
board of selectmen.
what's going on.
Is there
and,
any way that any of us can help you?
I think that the best thing would be for the, essentially the DRC to send a little note to the selectmen, but I haven't even told them about it yet, but send a little something, DRC, is, strongly supports getting this straight. I always say it, but it's in particular to deal with the
Yeah.
XL decommissioning.
Yeah.
That's what's made it,
That's
That's what
what,
brought it
that's,
to the
that's,
surface.
yeah, that's the.
and
that's
you've got a
the-
window that's gonna close very quickly.
That's
There's
right,
a small window of opportunity to get in under the 10-year wire.
that's right.
So it needs to happen in the
Yeah,
next few months.
yes, yes.
So there's urgency.
We need to contract it at least in the next few months. They'll allow us to get it done in January because the people who are gonna do it can't do it. But they, we've been working with them, but I
Can you
think,
write a letter for us to?
yeah, I can, but I would like you all
Yeah.
to know where we are.
Okay.
Well, can we put it, I mean, officially, we're all in agreement that we should
Do this?
move
Oh, yeah.
forward with a recommendation to the board of selectmen to move on this.
Do you want to
Yes,
make a
that-
motion?
to support.
I
Yes,
I move that the DRC present a letter to or recommendation to the board of selectmen to approve moving forward with,
they don't need to approve it, actually.
well, I mean, if they're gonna, it's gonna be money.
Yes, but we're probably not gonna ask them for money.
Just notify them.
Well, just to proceed with
Yeah, pursue,
with
yeah,
establishing
proceeds with pursuing it, yes,
Yes.
whatever that, you know,
a national
a
register.
national registered district for all the contributing,
Supposed, yeah.
Post.
for,
Circa
contributing
1890.
properties between,
Yeah.
1894 and 1907.
Yes.
Am I seconding?
Yes.
I second.
You get the gist. Susan will turn all that into English.
Oh, thank goodness for
Okay. All right. Thanks, Cindy. Once again. Okay, so do you have any other updates or demolition by neglect going on that you need to an update on? In some ways.
Okay. So for the Georgetown Museum project, I did touch base with Jerry about whether or not we could use the funding that has been set aside for the demolition by neglect ordinance for this. He stated that the Board of Selectmen always has the power to distinguish funds. So if that's something that you wanted to ask them to do, then we could do that. Regarding the workshop that we discussed, where we would have residents and people in town who want to learn how to manage, maintain, restore historic structures, and attend a workshop on that. Ken Crosby has offered to lead that workshop. We are speaking with him about that, and he's a contractor in town, relatively new and interested in just providing a service for the town and helping us out with that. As far as the curriculum goes, he would want to work closely with everyone here to make sure that what he is teaching people is something the DRC considers to be appropriate. And as well, you know, figuring out the schedule, what works for us, what works for people in town, and the budget for that as well. I have also spoken with the owner of the Georgetown Museum. He has stated that he has some funding available to help pay for materials for that workshop. So that's exciting. And once we have a budget, I could nail down how much money we would expect him to pay. Sarah Capel and I have spoken about potential micro grants that we could use to subsidize that amount as well. He could also use, if it was $5,000 off of that building. I don't know if that's zoned residential or not, actually.
It's in mixed use.
I think it's excuse. Yeah.
It's mixed use,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
think it comes out, it's never been used as a resident, I think it comes out.
So 5,000 might not qualify for tax credits for him, but she said that she could look at it. So, yes, so as far as next steps, what I'm hoping, if you all agree, is to set up a work session with Ken and with whoever would like to participate, to develop a curriculum for that workshop, a schedule and a budget. And then make sure we have the funding for that, and then we can put it out to the community. I have mentioned it to some people. People are really excited about just like a nice feel-good project and a learning opportunity. So so that's what's going on with the Georgetown Museum. Any questions?
So what's happening with the paint?
Yes. What we really want to do is get a coat of paint on that before the snow flies.
Yes, so that would definitely be on the, you know, it's not just a workshop. It would also be a community service project. So we'll make that clear in the flyer. Like, we want to
So we do the
restore
workshop.
the exterior
The
and we're gonna
workshop
learn
is
about it.
Who's gonna volunteer?
It's working on the
Yeah.
building, yeah, it's not workshop talking.
So it has to be paint, it all has to be repaired before it can be painted.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it wouldn't make any sense to
No.
do anything until you get all that soffit material.
Yeah.
Application and all that done.
Well, that's what the workshop will be, people learning how
It's
to
a
repair
workshop.
soffits and replace things that are rotted and all that.
So part of this, so part of the schedule discussion could be, do we do this two weekends or something, where one day is like identifying wood that can't be saved
Right.
and wood that can be saved, so that that's a learning experience, but then we literally also remove it, yeah. So
Take it off, yeah.
maybe a working workshop,
Oh, yeah, it's gotta be a working.
should,
Yeah.
yeah, we can workshop the name for the working workshop, so. Yeah, and then painting would definitely be part of it, so. Okay, anything else I need to clarify, because I haven't been clear about it?
Approximately when would the workshop be?
I'm hoping for late September, so that's, but we're getting skills squeaky now, so, who here would be interested in participating in developing that curriculum, so I can?
I'll help.
Okay.
I'll help with that.
I'll help.
Okay.
Need it.
Fantastic, that'd be great. Okay, so Brent, Jim. Okay, all right. Awesome, yay, thank you.
A lot of that is still involved lateral.
Yes, and I think Bob has some,
Bob loves ladder work.
he has some, my brain has lost the word, platforms that you stand on to do.
Yeah, I brought some of my scaffolding down, I talked to Vince. He's not going up on the scaffold.
Yeah.
No, he can't.
He can't,
Scaffold.
so, but he's concerned, he wants to match the molding that's up there, particularly on the front facade, so he really wants to bring the front back to the way it was originally. I mean, I took a quick look, that stuff looked pretty rough. But we may be able to go ahead and source molding that is either similar or make some, or, I don't know, you need to look at that, I don't know.
I'll come over
To have a source of where you could get custom millwork or something like that, we're not talking a lot of material. But to me, if we can find something that we could, okay, just tear off that stuff, put out new that replicates it, to me, that we think is, he was talking about patching it with. Bondo and all kinds of stuff.
It needs a lot of levels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and patching, doing some things with some window frames and at some points with Bondo and stuff is one thing, but to do the span of what he needs, yeah, that's.
well, it's extremely tight, so
That's
Replacing that building that's
So I guess I question whether, because this makes this very complicated. Are we really after a workday that's run by a couple of people who know what they're doing? Concept, that which is.
yeah, I mean, that's probably what
Really
we're
like,
talking
what we're really talking about is that we need to plan a couple of work days led by people and not stick anybody in the position of instructing. Yeah, you're learning by doing, of being instructor.
And knowing who to go talk to for.
Yeah, like, responsibilities down there, if you wanna work, show up and somebody will tell you what to do or show you what to do.
The people that I've spoken to are all contractors, as far as getting them to come out. I think contractors have the most to benefit from learning about historic repair, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I would-
This isn't that big a project. I mean, we're not doing, roof rafters or any of that stuff.
Yeah,
And this is mainly outside, like a fascia and soffit.
Yeah, because it's packed inside with stuff he's brought up from, his mother's place down in Denver, so you really can't get inside to do anything, but. And our main concern is to get it weather.
Yeah.
So
Which
the
is
focus is, the focus is get all the holes patched and get it, and then get it to the point where you can paint it, even if you don't paint it till next spring. If you get it all patched up, you're gonna be okay for the winter.
Yes,
At least get it primed, maybe.
Yeah.
Pieces.
Yeah.
And I think as far as inviting the community for painting, priming and teaching them, patching, that kind of stuff, like, I think there's a lot to
Oh, I
learn
think
there.
there's a great deal to say.
Really, all the work is
You did
terrible.
put together.
Couple of weekends and
Foster-
you got-
Yeah, Foster's
Do
place.
we have what scope of work yet?
No, I think that's the whole thing.
I think we need a scope of work to start
He
with.
has started that.
I've started that, so, I can take it on to finish it up, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get with me, Vince was kind of sensitive about people showing up out of the woodwork
Yeah, yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I can stop that, I'll, you know, just.
It might have been
Go-
that way.
What I think it was-
I took like 5 pictures of it, just
Yeah.
because I wanted to, just for reference.
But if you're with me, it's okay,
Yeah.
because he's my neighbor, he trusts me, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would like to be the focal point with them, and, you know, we can make this happen.
But if we could set up a work session, I think, where we can have like these conversations really fully, if that would be okay.
Yeah, we need to get some basic information, and then we'll get,
right, but I don't think we're setting up a scenario where there's going to be a one person in charge. I think we're gonna end up with a scope of work, we're gonna end up with a work day. And we're gonna end up with people, you know, please come and help with the work. And the instruction is at that level is the learning by doing, and it's going to be at the eyeball supervision of the people who have the scope of work in their hands, and probably 2 or 3 of them. And, you know, these 2 guys go with that guy, and these 2 guys go with that guy, and
Got
we
it.
work on this part. And
Here's how you do
this
this.
formalizes it in a way that I don't think it swings.
Okay, got it. Multiple
do-
leaders, yep,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
still think
and-
we should
and-
discuss like what learning we would like to communicate, however that happens, and have some.
be like on the job training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it isn't on the job.
Watching
training, learning that we wanna communicate. I don't think we're gonna end up with a curriculum, we're gonna end up with his list of what we.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, and not a lecture, certainly.
No,
but
that's
that would be a-
not a demonstration thing either, you're out there and you're doing it.
Yeah.
And that is the way Foster's Place came together. I mean, it was together, yeah, but it had crews that do this and this and this, on the direction of somebody, and they really. Very so. And I think it worked and people loved it and they came, and I think it'd be a useful tool in a number of places. I can think of a barn that needs help.
Yeah. Apparently, we have pictures now. Okay.
But yeah, and that would be very cool.
Good to go.
On the other hand, I would like to pursue with Jerry the fact that this commission could do mini grants. Up to a certain amount. I don't know the numbers of, I don't know what we have in that historic preservation thing, but I think we filled the pot. Because I think it was part of it, sales tax percentage up to a certain amount. I don't know, I may have.
There's no cap as far as I know.
Well, then it's growing all the time. And it
Yes,
has grown mightily in the last 10 years.
I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, there's about $83,000. We have to leave some amount in there, so I think there's
Well, I
like
think it's
95.
I think this one that is all over. Yeah, anyway, whatever it is, but that we could use a certain amount of it and so people could come for a given project and we might be able to mini grant some of this. I mean, cause even $3,000 to $5,000.
Yeah, I mean, if we get, if there's interest in town within the community to help each other. You know, fix up some of these structures in town that are in need of attention, that would be absolutely awesome. I mean, that's a good community spirit type of thing.
And I think there's a lot of much smaller projects that could be just a quick weekend, there's a little things here. That maybe, you know.
Yeah.
Could be replaced and a working, loving workshop.
Yes.
A little love on everything.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's.
I don't think it'll fly.
Yeah. Okay, so.
I'm not quite
So,
there yet.
we're only on item 1.
That's, get us out of here.
Rolling right along, so it's gonna be it's a more informal thing, we show up to work and the people that are in charge just take charge and tell people what to do and how to do it. And people with 2 left thumbs can carry stuff and
Sure, yeah.
hand things, okay.
And I do like the idea of like show up when you can for
Yeah,
this
yeah.
time period, stay as long as
Yeah.
you can. Yeah, I like that. But if the 4 of us after this could get together, so 5 of us, and pick a date to have that work
Okay.
session, I think that'd be cool. And I'll communicate, because Ken would like to be involved in.
Yes, well, you should be a part of it.
Yes, Kosky House, any updates on?
We're working on the front porch, just replaced the fascia soffit, and we did the roof on the porch.
That's 5 o'clock.
Looks pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's getting weather tight, and we're actually reproducing the columns, the wood columns are all shot. And so the metal supports to be out of there short. So it's gonna need some more trim on around everything, but that could come at a later date, we're just trying to stabilize it.
Okay. Any news about that other lot, yeah? Excel update,
They're on pause.
okay,
It's very strange.
yeah, okay. The suspense
Yeah,
goods,
I went to, there was a meeting last week,
14th, yeah.
14th. I went to that, it was basically, the prime purpose of the meeting was a 60% design review of the bypass. And the bypass looks, like what we had talked about before. The time frame on that is certainly no earlier than probably next summer and possibly even later than that. It's gonna take about 6 months to construct. That's where their focus is. And what seems to be taking the time is all the permitting and all the different organizations that they have to go through. That's where they were coming from. But it's gonna be about a 6-month window. Fairly heavy truck traffic bringing 1,600 feet of 4-foot diameter pipe up the mountain.
But not this summer,
No, it won't be this summer, for
may not be
sure.
next summer.
It's,
Cindy, what else do we need down on Argentine that we can blackmail? We're gonna
Well-
drive all that stuff through our town, there should be something we get for it. The Argentine road.
Yeah. They should.
but I mean, they're looking at easements and permits and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they know what they need to do. One thing that surprised me that was news is they're gonna need to relocate, they think 4, four distribution line poles from the creek side, next to the creek side to the other side of the
Oh,
mountain
that'd be
side.
nice.
Right in front of the reservoir area. I mean,
Yeah.
That area there.
Nice.
So they've got to look into that, and that's a separate group with an Excel, so we have the project manager for the bypass was kind of minty that he has to go. He says, yeah, but we're talking, but the 2 guys were there from from the transmission and distribution group, so they're trying to coordinate that and figure out how to get that done, because that'll need to happen before much of anything happens there. And then dredging will not be until after, not dredging, but the sampling for the sediments, the core sampling, won't be until after the bypass is in. So if the bypass goes in next summer, which that's a big if, we're probably looking the following year, unless they can get it in tail end of the summer before things fill up again. So I mean, it's clear, this project is going to be around a long time. I mean, it's gonna be into the 2030s before they're all done.
Really?
I mean, they didn't say that, but I mean, you just look at all they have to go through, and this is the easy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, then they.
This is the easy stuff that they're into now. But when they go to take the dam out and, pull all the dirt out of there and the sediments, and then.
Yeah.
Redo the creek, I mean,
It's huge.
they're gonna put in a sheet right upstream where the two creeks come down and, before you get to the, I don't know what what's that, south end of the restaurant, whatever direction it is out there.
That's
The opposite of the dam, they're gonna put in sheet piles, probably 10 to 15 feet deep, is how long the sheet piles will be. And it's gonna go quite a ways across, it kind of goes across like this, and then does a dog leg, because they'll put a concrete intake structure for the two 4-foot diameter pipes. And then they'll take and create like an overflow, like a, you know, real heavy storm, like 5-year, greater than 5-year storm, to be able to divert it down around it, and then it would go into the reservoir and just, you know, that excess flow. But during normal times, one pipe should be able to handle it, up to a 5-year storm event. The two pipes are designed to handle that, that's kind of what they're designed for. And they'll have gates or valves at the front end of the, you know, trash around and all that stuff.
Will the bypass be permanent?
No,
Will the
bypass,
after it's done?
it'll be there probably, you know, it'll be there for a few years, sure. And they've got a couple up near where the dam, where the coffer dam is, for the temporary dam, which will come out also. They've got a plan for an entrance into the reservoir area, and then further down toward the dam, the existing dam, there'll be a ramp to get out, so they'll be able to come in and out.
And then are they doing all kinds of nature trails? Like,
Well, that's they're down the road. They're not even,
We're not gonna do that.
they're not, yeah, they're not. That is not even, they're not concerned about that right now, they're just trying to get, basically doing it one step at a time, I mean, and that's.
I think they're shocked at how complicated it is.
I think they're shocked at how complicated we are.
So I mean, there's stuff going on, but it is, it's something with that, yeah.
And they're blaming it on permitting agencies, and I don't buy it for a second.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Bob. And revitalizing Main Street, am I taking over your thing?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm used to reading everything.
No, you're fine. So that's tabled for now. Bob has created a scope and we are keeping that on record so that if we decide to revisit that project in the future, we already have that scope laid out. So thank you for doing that work, Bob. We do really appreciate
Yeah, I
it.
mean, I'm still working on that, but I've collected a bunch of information. And I've done some just very broad.
Yeah.
Idea that you get an idea of what kind of price range we're looking at, and depending on what you actually do, you're looking at $500,000 to $1 million, because we think Flagstone, but there's excavation work that's gonna need to be done where you get those god-awful tree stumps that are still there. Every place, I mean, if we're gonna do this, it's gonna have to be ADA. So you're gonna have ADA ramps at every intersection, and you're gonna need to go ahead and do driveway, curb cuts in the driveways that are just curved now. Well, I mean, this isn't gonna go anywhere. I've been told, don't do anything on it, so other than clean that up and, make something that's a package that's ready to go if and when we decide to go, and it's back burner, so I probably won't be done doing what I plan to do until the end of the year or so. But just, it wouldn't be a trivial project.
No.
Yes.
But for your entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
for your real entertainment, go to the municipal code and read the law on city sidewalks and city streets construction.
For Georgetown.
For Georgetown specifically.
Okay,
So
so
that's where you're going.
It's entertaining.
It is entertaining. Brent has done it.
Is it so
It is very
Is it so
entertaining.
tiny? No, it's.
Taylor's. No, Taylor's.
I don't know.
Okay, well, that's.
No, it's very.
It's from Denver.
Oh, what?
It
Well,
looks like it's from Denver.
No,
typical,
when I look at
construction.
in our ordinances, the streets are addressed as dirt streets. And they are really addressed, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, we just don't do it.
I still need to give you the application for designating local historical sites that no match grant is available. Sorry about that. Also no update on the Muscovite structure. Sean has worked on 704 4th Street. He provided pictures and a list of the identified repairs that would be needed to preserve the structure. So I have that. I need to write that letter. Sorry. Historic signage. We should maybe talk about when we want to add that to the agenda to talk about as a group.
You need to go out and take pictures of it. The Pretzel Cafe doesn't mean a cafe, it means the sign that's on the brick building on the side of what was the cafe.
Well, maybe a little later in the fall.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna be gone for those meetings in September.
Ooh,
Okay. Yes, I think it will be.
Maybe October.
yeah.
Tax credit session, I hope that was helpful.
That was
I
good.
thought Sarah did a great job. She has been really helpful for some of our residents.
Yes.
I did not realize that we required residential applications to come before the design review commission.
I didn't say that.
No.
I said, the design review commission has done resident, we don't require them to come. They
Okay,
have their option, they could come here, they could go to the state.
okay,
Some went to the state, I can name a couple of those, and some came here. But if they had the option of, instead of dealing with the state, of dealing with their own local commission.
okay. Maybe you and I can get together so you can tell me what would be appropriate for me to include in a packet if someone comes to me with the tax credit review
Okay,
application.
if you've never, I don't know what the current application looks like, and it's, Jen has handled that for inquiries.
Okay,
And she has Jim Blugerman's whole notebook of how he responded to the thing, and if you wanna know what one looks like, it's sitting down there as an example. It's sitting in the office downstairs as an example of how you do it.
Jim,
What is
Jim
Jen called?
Blugerman's. Well, it's the,
Is it called?
but I don't know what the current application looks like. This was a few years back.
Is this federal?
His was local residential tax credit.
Yeah, I remember going over there.
Yeah, you did the final review.
And, Sean and I went over to Sandra Dallas.
Yeah. Did the final review on that.
Did she do that? She didn't do that through us, so did she? I don't
Yes,
remember
yeah, we still, we
Yes,
signed
yes,
off and
that's
Sanders. I
had
remember Jim's, I don't remember Sanders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sandra did hers to us too. And
Yeah.
it was the same person, the same issues. I mean, it's the same application, you did the same everything, they just don't do your own stuff.
and do you have the power to approve that, basically? Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
approved it. And so I don't know if they're saying that certified local governments can no longer do that. But in our stuff, it said that as a certified, and that's what Joe Saldivar told us for years.
I think
I
most of
mean,
the
Joe
was.
was in this conversation.
Gotcha, so I'll double check on what the application looks like and whether or not we still have the power to approve those tax credit applications.
And do take a look at Jim's, because it's very subtle. And we have in our file drawers downstairs, we have sets of applications.
Okay, do you know Jim Bluberman's address for the building he was working on?
Yeah, it's up on Spring Street, the top one on Spring
It's actually
Street.
Second Street.
It's actually Second Street, is it?
Yeah.
No,
West
sir.
Close.
He's third. Is,
He's Third Street.
Is he third?
He's Third Street.
Yeah.
let's see there.
Except that doesn't help you. Go up to Spring Street and as you make the turn to get back on Loop Drive, It's the last house on your left, it's a white one with green trim. It's
End of the street.
end of the street.
911,
Yes, sounds
Got
about.
that,
Yeah.
I think
901.
they think they're on Baker, but that's beside,
Well, then third needs to be bigger.
yes.
Not like you get your mail there or anything.
Right next to Corliss.
There, that's all you need to know.
There you
Got
go.
it. I do know where Florida lives, so, okay.
Okay.
I inquired with staff about how much it would cost to send out the design review commission brochures to our water list. It's about $400 we're estimating. So I need to look at what budget that would come out of, since the design review commission doesn't have a budget, so.
We are the only commission that does not.
Yes.
Well, maybe that's what our micro grant budget sort of.
Well, maybe we should give ourselves a micro grant so we can get it through.
Right, yeah.
Yes, so I will have an update for you. Well, if you have any suggestions, feel free to send it to me. I also don't have a budget as an assistant administrator, so, yeah. It would be,
Very nice.
yeah, so I'll talk to Rick about that. I don't know if that'll happen this year. We're still working out our audit process for the town, and so that's been kind of a nightmare, and we don't even really know how much money is spent this year right now, so we're trying to be extra careful, so we're not approving any extra expenditures unless they're necessary at this point in time, but if
We do
we.
know what we've spent, what we don't know is what we have officially started with.
Okay, well,
Because that's what the audit does to you. Well, it does, right? It rearranges your starting.
Yeah.
so we'll give you an update if I get an update on that. Pip did install his wire fence. There's currently not the wood cladding that you asked him to put on that. I have spoken with him. He is working on it. I will let you know if there's
Posts.
on adding the wood cladding to, yes.
Yes.
I do also have a couple other people who have started projects that need to come get a COA that will be in front of you hopefully next week. One of them is an amendments, Max from the jerky store. He has an existing COA, but he's adding some fence in front of his yard, so he has to come get that approved by you. It's wrought iron. I think it won't be a big deal, but just so you know about it. Yes, he does have to come to me then, so. And then you asked me to look into 790 Taos and whether or not it has hardy board. I haven't had a chance to look through the file yet, but there are no building permits for siding, so there's a building permit for a re-roof and there's a building permit for, at least in Safe Built, there might be an older one that's in the. But anyway, I don't.
The greenhouse, 709 house is the one that she was referring to, that it's Cooper's, diagonally across the street.
The log houses behind it.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at permits,
said it was all-
this is not for this commission or all that, but before I forget it. Georgetown Highway LLC, got a proposal from the town for a property that's down on Argentine North. And they got a COA from us for building, and I think that's well over a year ago. So can you see if you can find them?
What was the address again?
Well, the address is
It's a little triangle piece down
down
across from the apartments.
across from the apartments, way down in the middle of the project.
Across Argentine?
It's between Argentine and the highway. It's the last piece
Oh, where the helicopter thing is.
yeah, well,
Further down.
it's further
Yeah,
than
but
the
oh,
helicopter thing. So it's
Yeah,
right
that's
down
several
there.
years ago.
It was part of the development, and then the development sold it to this company.
Yes,
That's,
okay.
it's a little commercial section.
Uh-huh.
It's zoned commercially,
Uh-huh.
so I don't have a street address. And when you look it up on Clear Map, it does, it gives you a survey, it doesn't give you a location in that sense, but the owner is Georgetown Highways LLC, and the name was David Burton, and they did get a encroachment license from,
Yeah.
from the town,
They need
but
to
they
decide.
also got a COA from us. And I think it's, the COA has run out.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
That's
Definitely.
a lot longer.
That wasn't even on my list for last year, so it's definitely not.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we maybe ought to go back a year and see if we can
Check it
clear out those, because that piece of property is,
Okay.
in Borders project zone at the moment, and it's,
This might not be a question that you guys have an answer to, but I just thought of it. There's a gentleman trying to purchase a lot on Main Street. It's block 54, lot 3, whatever, you guys don't need to know that, but, there's a tipple, if you know Norma. If you know where Norma lives, she has a tipple up on,
Dwayne Gazinski's old house.
yes, the lot next to Dwayne's old house. There's someone looking to develop that lot, and he was asking me who's responsible for maintaining the tipple that's there. I was wondering if you knew the answer to that.
yeah, actually, the tipple sits on.
That's a tipple.
Great question.
You're so
A bunch of timbers and dirt.
A bunch of timbers and the rest in the mining process to, you know.
It's like a
the railroad.
crib type thing.
Like a retaining wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not retained because it's.
It's where the York came out, and stuff that
And,
doesn't frame.
but it has a chute so that you can, you know, send it into a wagon or whatever, so that's.
Oh, let the property owner then be responsible?
Well, except it isn't totally on anybody's one property.
It's halfway, well, it's
It-
mostly on Norma's property, it's a little bit on the other property. Allegedly.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's hard to tell on the map.
Yeah.
Who owns the most of the tipple. Now, is it a designated historic structure, that tipple? No, it's not. I don't believe. I
Okay,
haven't checked that. But is it of the age to be? Yes. And it's part of that whole complex that's back there. You know, you have the mines, you have that, you have the other piece that's up above it. So it's an interesting. And his question is who's responsible for it?
yes, and I directed him to Chris Bradley to find out more history about it, if he's interested in that. 'Cause I certainly do not.
But the question of who's responsible for it, you see, I think that essentially that's correct, you know,
Norma,
that the property owner ends up with.
Is he aware there may be environmental
yes,
issues with all that stuff? Because that's.
yeah, actually, another
That's a
question
nasty
was,
area.
you know, we went
I wouldn't build there.
We went through the DRC guidelines that are relevant to potential construction there, and one of them is geohazards, which we've never talked about that I've been here, so, you know, it says, go talk to the town of Georgetown about what the geohazards are, and I was like, that's me, I don't know, so.
Yeah, except that I don't know if you have talked to Mary about them, because it's attached to all of the land up there, and we have been, I have the EPA's contact, they have it on their list of places, because they're looking for mine sites that are within communities because of airborne lead.
Yes, they've spoken with Mary, she's sending them the most recent report that was mailed out to that area.
And so the land up by her is for sale again. Yeah, I saw it on.
I saw that.
Did you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
And because we went over and over and over again on houses, talked about permits, the COAs that ought to get killed, ought to get cleared out, is the stuff on that property.
Mm.
Because they're all too old now too,
Up on Mount Biddle Street.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, up on the top of Biddle Street, so.
Mary Street.
That is,
Not that
Mary
it's-
Street,
Yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't. There's no street there.
there's no great, no, it's the end of stuff, but I would, you know. The geohazard, if you have the federal agency saying that they've got a geohazard, I think you have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just wasn't sure if we had some other kind of record that the town kept, and I told him I didn't think so, but I would look and.
Oh, years ago, we did a rockfall study,
Mm,
and I think that everybody who lived over here gathered together and told the town that they needed to destroy the rockfall study because it would have been impossible to insure houses.
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
So we have no rock fall problem now.
Yeah, we definitely have it. It's just, and the major portion of it was actually more down towards the
Yeah.
meadows because it was.
Yeah.
As far as the Board of Selectmen notes. What would you like me to do regarding that, or are you gonna handle that?
I will draft up something before I get there, but.
Our agenda for the next meeting, we're working on tomorrow, so just so you know, but I assume you wanna go to the meeting after that, maybe,
For,
for the Board of Selectmen. We're putting.
yeah, I'm actually gonna show up tomorrow and I'm in business and explain to them what I want to hear.
Okay,
Because actually, you know, we want the town's support, but this isn't determinant on the town's support. Anybody can file for this and we're filing.
Good to know.
okay, I can put it on the agenda if you want, then.
Does that mean I have to sit through the meeting till I get to it?
I can ask Rick to put it early if you'd like.
Yeah. Just say Cindy.
Yeah, that.
And Cindy's
that-
of course, she has to go first.
That's probably the best way. I just, you know, I don't want it to surprise everybody, and I want people to know.
And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
2021's in that triangle office in the visibility.
21.
And at this point, if anyone starts building something,
They get it.
they got, you know,
Yeah,
They're not.
but 2021.
Thanks for looking out.
Thank you.
any comments or questions?
Takes the donuts.
They're making me hungry. They, sitting where it's smelling, we have more coming around.
Our road says fabulous, don't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, we should be.
They're really good.
Yes.
Where are they from?
From Mount Lost. Well, technically from a place in Central City,
Yes.
and they buy the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As they bring Central City.
Yeah, didn't say, okay, that's pretty.
Okay, thanks for
Thank you.
Thanks for you guys like something with tax credits.
Yes, very nice. Thank you all.
Questions?
Yeah, you got the business card. Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. We have minutes. What's that?
I did know you when you're.
You were not here. I think it was about missing a comma there, but no,
You
you
think I
got
was here or not?
No, I don't think you were.
No,
I was.
it was all men.
And it went fast, by the way.
Okay, well, so noted. You guys can read your own minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they double check it. Yeah, that looks good. Does anybody have anything on the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll say it.
All in favor?
It's a great.
Yeah, all in favor, can vote on that, please. Just wanted you to feel included. Since we were here, we don't vote on the minute approval, and we don't know what you guys did.
We did a business.
Yeah,
exactly.
You never read
And then.
Oh, no.
They did.
Oh.
Okay, we may approve minutes to be.
Yeah, we. Oh, did you say adjourn?
I wrote it, but.